Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Debatable with our hosts. I'm Kyle, I'm currently recording from Cavite.
And I'm Nina, I'm currently recording from Pasig City, and welcome to Quarantine with Nina and Kyle. So, just a little bit of a disclaimer, I apologize in advance for the quality of my mic. Given that Kyle and I are recording from two separate places, only Kyle could have the recording mic with him, so I'm recording through my laptop. So the sound quality might be a little bad, but I'll do my best to edit the two tracks together to sound more or less the same, hopefully of good quality.
Yeah. So for this episode, what we're going to do is a little bit different. We're going to be taking a look at the bingo card that PIDC released, the debater bingo thing, and this is just something special that we wanted to do for our anniversary, and we know that it's different from our usual programming of serious topics, especially with the rise of the coronavirus and also with the lockdown that we're currently experiencing. But we wanted it to be a lighthearted break from all of that. So we decided to make this to celebrate our anniversary and at the same time conducting research on the serious topics that you guys wanted us to follow through with, like COVID, like some issues regarding healthcare, those kinds of things. So we just thought it would be fun to do, and we also understand that a lot of people might feel a little bit overwhelmed and a little bit more anxious because of all the bad news that we seem to be bombarded with on a daily basis. So we wanted to contribute to efforts to sort of distract people in a productive way that will prevent people from literally having breakdowns. Like, we're not endorsing people to just stop caring, but more of if like it shouldn't come at the cost of your own mental health, you know?
Yeah, so you should learn to strike a balance. So we hope that listening to this podcast episode at least would give you a little break from all your social media consumption and all the anxiety that the news might be bringing you.
Okay, yeah, so right, we're using the PIDC bingo card, but just a disclaimer also, we're not being paid by PIDC to talk about this. We're not paid at all by anyone, actually. So this might be a misconception that we're monetized, but we're actually not. We don't earn anything from it. The only way that we get any sort of money is by selling stickers, and really the only reason why we even sell stickers to begin with is so that we can pay for our subscription to the podcast hosting service that we have to pay for every single month to deliver like a podcast to you guys.
Yeah, and we're also trying to raise funds to sponsor high school like participants. But given all the tournaments this year seem to be cancelled, I guess that side project of ours is also on a back burner.
It's okay. We can't earn anything anyway to like get funds for those sponsorships.
That's
anyway.
That's true. If there are no tournaments, there's no way we sell stickers. So it's like a chicken egg problem. Whatever. Okay, so how are we going to do this bingo? We're going to look at each square on the bingo card and discuss it, and discuss whether or not it applies to us, and then we're gonna review and see if we get bingo. You know, we probably will. I don't know.
Yeah. I haven't seen this before. I haven't read through the entire card before. So this is the first time that I'm going to be seeing this. Kasi nakakatamad. Nakakatamad.
That's true.
So people respond to things differently. So a lot of people respond to like the overwhelming barrage of news about the lockdown. They go like, I wanna read something else. But I personally just wanna not read anything at all.
That's one way to deal with it, I guess. Okay, let's deal with the first one. The first one was, or is, got promised a point at 6th minute but was scammed. So this has happened to me, but so I'm gonna shade this part, but I don't think it was prominent enough to like leave any impact on me. Like, I don't remember any particular stories to share.
I do remember something that happened to me like this, where medyo prominent debater siya.
Oof.
Tsaka, at the time, we were from different institutions, but now we come from the same institution. And it was like a national quarterfinal or something. And then she was like criticizing everyone from the opposing side of the bench because oh, they're not taking her POIs and stuff. So I raised a POI to her, and then she said, okay, later I'm gonna take it to 6th minute. But then she scammed me because she didn't take my POI either, or any of our POIs. So I was just like, okay, hypocrite.
Were you able to raise
So I
it
was
though?
telling her about this.
Were you able to like raise it in the round?
Like in my speech na. Pero like you know how like there's always this dilemma where you really want to be shady, you want to be snarky, but you realize that it'll take like quite a long time to deliver your snarks. I'm like, okay, on one hand, I want to throw shade against this person for being a hypocrite, but on the other hand, I might end up digressing into a really long rant. And no one wants to do that. But I do that because it's so often, so I have to police myself like 3 times more than usual.
Oh well, at least you were able to talk to this person about it, you know.
Yeah. I was telling her na like in following rounds, nung parang training na lang siya. And I was like, alam ko style mo yan. And I was like, hey, no, that's not my style. I'm like, no, it totally is. Here, 5 years ago, you did this. And it's like, wow.
Left the mark. Okay, so we both got scammed at one point. You a bit more intensely and more memorable than me. Next was got 75 in an above average round. So this has also happened to me, but again, not very significant to my life that I remember it.
Okay, so you know that this happened to me, and it was because you watched this round. You watched my speech. I gave a speech that I was personally really proud of because I was snarky but also substantive, like the fun kind of snarky, the smart kind. But then, like after the round happened and after we were being given comments, we lost, but we were assured that it was a good round. It was a very high, above average round, and parang with me particularly, so that was really good. I felt very emotional because of it, blah blah blah. Tapos pagkatingin ko sa tab, 73 na ako, not even a 75. I got a below average score in an allegedly very high, above average round.
Oh gosh.
And then that's really sad because that was supposed to be my very last tournament in my college career, because that tournament was a tournament that I started with like years ago, like a decade ago in 2010. That was the very first tournament, the very first college tournament I entered, and I entered it while I was in high school, and then I broke. And after joining the UP Debate Society, that was also the first tournament I joined, and then I broke with you, Nina. And then the very last one, 10 years later, not only was I unable to participate in the break rounds, I also got a 73 in an allegedly above average round. So, like, injury upon injury upon injury.
Oh. Well, you got to compete a bit more after that, so it wasn't really your final college tournament.
Yeah, I only got to compete after that in, law school na.
No, we did a mint
Post-grad
together.
na yun.
Oh, that's true. Do you consider it like if it's a college tournament, but you compete as an alumni? Do you still consider it a college tournament or not anymore?
No, because Mint was an open. It was an intervarsity, so like it wasn't my college career anymore. It was, yeah.
Oh, okay. So your basis is like your career and not whether the participants are college people.
Yeah, kasi if that were the case, I started my college career when I was 12 and I was in first year high school.
Well, some would say that. Okay, next one. Conflicted a judge. I have done this. I'm not proud of it. I don't like making it a habit, but sometimes you just really have to if the justification doesn't make sense. So for me, I don't usually do it out of like some vindication or some revenge or some ill feelings. It's usually because I personally don't think this person should be judging it, or like I think this person hasn't learned the basics of judging. So I've given this not usually not to like prominent judges that people would expect me to, but like people who start out, and I'm usually very nice about it.
Well, I conflicted somebody for a very petty reason. What ended up happening was Like, the majority of the decision wasn't particularly convincing. Ang dami daw deadlock, pero hindi niya nare-resolve. Tapos it seemed at some point na the reason why we lost, even though like issues-wise hindi masyadong diniscuss, the reason why we lost was because of my Taglish jokes. And I'm like, you can call me stupid, whatever. That's fine. I know that. I'm also dumb. But do not take away my ability to make really corny Taglish jokes, because that is who I am as a person. I am a silly boy. Do not punish me for trying to be silly.
I'm sorry you had to face that. Was that a recent tournament? Was I there?
No, you weren't there actually. That was actually Asians. That was like nationals na Asians before I was in high school, I think.
Oh yeah.
It was really sad.
Well, it's over now.
Feeling ko pwede naman yun. Like, it is perfectly fine to make a decision based on manner.
Yeah.
I'm like,
definitely.
That's the reason why it is part of the, like, we used to have a rubric na parang one third, and one third of it was manner. Ngayon, parang it fell out of use na. Pero I think it's valid to make decisions based on manner. However, I was younger. And I was like, no, my jokes. Kasi from what I felt was that because of my manner, my matter was not being considered as well anymore.
Oh, yeah. That tends to happen, and I don't agree with it.
Anyway, so sub-story ko siya. Next.
Make a debate playlist. So, I think everyone knows we have one. We have one together. I don't update it anymore. I was supposed to, when we were gonna join Mint, we were supposed to update it. But, like, I guess, that playlist will just exist. I also have a playlist with, like, every single teammate that I compete with. It's just something that I personally need to have.
Yeah, so sa atin, it was a Stronger Than Yesterday playlist. Sa inyo ni Jasmine and Clarice, was that Dangerous Woman?
Yeah. We had like a Dangerous Woman playlist sort of thing.
Yeah. So, ako naman, I have a main playlist that is just for myself. And then I also have like separate ones for unique and important team-ups, like yun nga, my playlist with Nina. But I have a main one that I've had ever since I was 12. And it includes 30 Seconds to Mars, the entire album, and all the Naruto openings. Like, just all of them. Just all of them.
I can see why you don't share that often.
Yeah, kasi there were really some times when I was super tempted to just burst into singing that stupid Fighting Dreamer song.
Oh, now that you mentioned it, it's in my head. It's playing in my head. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I have an embarrassing debate playlist.
But you have one, and that's all we needed to know. Next one. PM emotion you knew nothing about. I've done this. I was with Kyle when I did this. It was the semifinals of the first BP tournament we joined together. And it was This House Believes the EU is a Failed Project. Something like that. And I knew nothing. We were against very prominent dinosaurs. And I was just afraid of making a fool of myself. Because I knew we were gonna lose. But I just didn't want to lose badly. I wanted to leave the room with them respecting our team up. But that didn't happen. I gave such a bad speech. I didn't know anything about IR then. It was like, no matter at all. Very generic. And then, we lost.
Yeah.
We had average speaks, but I feel like I deserved like a 72 or something.
Yeah, that was your origin story, kumbaga.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember the people we were against nanem, like, our closing was Aloy and Christian, who were really good that round. Like, neither of us advanced, but they were still, like, much better than how we did. Our opening opposition was Venti and Cibor, who are both known for how much matter that they have individually. So collectively, we were just overwhelmed. And then closing opposition was Kip Oibanda and Sharmila Parmanat. So we were just like, all these people know so much more than us. Yeah, ako naman, I'm not sure if this counts because it wasn't technically being a PM, but I was LO. So siguro first speaker, it counts na rin. The motion was this house would elect the ombudsman. I was first year. Dami ko mga experiences from first year. Siguro it was because it was my formative years where like everything was much more memorable because they were all unique experiences.
Probably.
But I remember we picked that motion. It was it was through a veto system, and then we got this motion and we were against this team called the Newbies. So we were really happy because we were also newbies. And then we asked a friend of ours who was older than us. We were like, oh, kaya ba namin tong si Newbies? Tapos sabi niya, yeah. Just have fun, Remember to focus on learning. And then when we entered, we were just like, oh, they're kind of older than us, but siguro newbies sila na college students. And then they fucking wrecked us. They freaking wrecked us. Because apparently each one of them individually, they were all at least regional champions, and one of them even broke at Worlds. And then one of them later on would start a very long back-to-back championship streak nationally. And then it was really hilarious because I was rebutted, right? I was LO, and then I had nothing to say, and I didn't know anything. What even is the ombudsman, right? I was being fed matter by my teammate. Tapos, nirebat ako, diba? It wasn't actually a rebuttal, more like the DPM was explaining my argument. Tapos, explanation pala ng argument ko. I could feel my entire argument crashing and imploding and collapsing upon itself. So much so na he didn't go like, so, my first rebuttal is something like that. He just, at the end of the explanation of the argument, he just slammed the table and then stared at the judge. And then after like 2 seconds, he was like, okay, moving on. Like, he didn't need to say anything more to, prove to anybody that he successfully destroyed everything that I said. And like a few years later, I was talking to him. I met him again. I was like, hey, sir, do you remember me? And then, sabi niya, yeah, you were the... Like, I'm sorry, we wrecked you. Tapos I told him that the instance where he was just explaining my argument and then he was destroying it already. And then he said something that I feel like most people should understand and sort of internalize, that what he was doing daw kasi was he was explaining the argument using his own words, and by doing that, it gave him complete control over how the argument would look to the judge. That's the reason why he just needed to explain it using his own words, tapos it was sufficiently destroyed na raw. I was like, yeah, wow, that is so cool. That is so cool talaga. Like, I can't.
Was that
so good.
Was that an origin story for you in any way?
I guess so. I guess it was the origin story for me, distrusting team names. Parang newbies, but...
Fair enough. Okay, next one. Went to the wrong debate room. I don't know what this one means, because it could mean you just walked into the wrong one and then realized quickly. Does that count, or do you have to have some significant drama related to that instance? Because I know people who've gone to the wrong debate room and have debated in the wrong room, and then they just mess up the entire tab. But that's never really happened to me.
Ikaw ba?
No, for me, what happened was I just walked into the wrong room, and then I was like, oh, sorry, this is not my room. It's the one next door. And then I just go there.
I suppose that counts. My experience with this was I was judging, and then I was given my allocation, and then I went to the room. I was waiting for an extra 10 minutes, and then nobody was going to my room. I thought that, kasi nagbago yung room allocations, I was under the impression that while I was waiting, the rest of the room, the revised room allocations would be distributed amongst the participants. But apparently, number one, that actually did happen. But number two, they did not inform me about the revised room allocations. It was actually revised another time.
Oh no.
So I was there, I went back to the tab room, and then I was like, oh, saan ba ako talaga? And then I got sent to another room, and then when I got there, the debate had already started, and they weren't missing any judges. So, like, what I ended up doing was just, like, I was just roaming around, looking for a room with a missing judge, or a room that hasn't started yet. And then the first one I saw, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in here, and then, okay, fine, let's start the round. It was very sad.
Yeah. I think yours is like the kind of story that this bingo was looking for, you know? Mine's just like a technicality. Like yes, fine, you went to the wrong room. Congrats.
Ako, system failures made me go to a series of wrong rooms, thinking that I was the judge there.
Okay, next one. Prepped in a restroom. I think you all know the answer to this. I have done it, but mostly because I had no choice. Because my teammates were going to be in the bathroom, and I could either wait, or if they were a girl, I would have to join them and prep with them from the other side of the cubicle.
Ako naman, so I know that you're talking about me to a large extent here, because you always make it a point to say, oh, Kyle's always in the bathroom when we prep. But when I was starting out, I was also being left by my partner to go to the bathroom, because my eternal partner back then, like, also got very nauseated and had to go to the bathroom every crucial round. And at some point I was like, if I can't force him to stay, I might as well go with him, you know? So I ended up participating in the restroom ritual also, and I was like, hey, this is really efficient. I can do 2 things at once.
And it stuck, I guess.
Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention.
Okay, the next one. We live in a society. So basically, they're asking, in this bingo, they're asking if we've ever used the line. I have, but ironically. Like, I would use it in a mocking tone just to show people I'm not actually meaning it. Because it's a meme, right? It's a meme.
Okay, I used it, but unironically, because I was using it at the time when it wasn't yet a meme. Like 2011 or what. I was saying things like, we live in a society where the environment is dying. We live in a society where our rights are being taken away from us, blah, blah, blah. It's just the same as like the year before, when my generic introduction was, let me paint you a picture of a world that is dying, or what, something like that.
Let me paint you a picture.
And I know that today, I always tell people that we coach that to stay away from generic introductions. But that's only because I was like a really big offender of that at some point, of like really vague, really generic introductions. And I felt that it wasn't working for me. And it only solidified when people started making memes about these generic introductions. And I was like, okay, let's stop. That was a bad thing.
Okay, next one. Break night momol. Yes. But
yes.
No comment. Like, it's not like my instances have never been controversial. It's like people I'm dating. So it's like, is it really that bad? Nah.
Well, okay, fine. Same. I choose not to kiss and tell because privacy concerns.
Okay, next. Debated or judged while tipsy or drunk. Yes. Kyle and I have actually done this. It was our NDC 2017 finals. Like, right before the round, we took a shot because we wanted to celebrate getting to finals, and we wanted something to sort of, I guess, like break the tension, like just to relax a bit. But like, I immediately regretted it because I had nothing in my stomach. I didn't eat dinner because I was too nervous to eat, and Kyle has this juju about not eating. And then, like, suddenly we were on stage and the lights were so bright, and I just remember I had to squint so much. I'm pretty sure my live stream is just me either avoiding looking up or squinting when I do, and it's just really bad.
It was also really bad for me because I remember I was on stage. We were on stage and we were already sitting down. They gave us water and stuff. And then I saw across us someone who was also on stage, who was also a Naruto fan like me. So I started gesturing ninja hand signs at him, trying to do fireball jutsus at him.
Why?
So like, please do not watch that. I don't know. I like showing off the fact that I memorize and can actually perform all of the hand signs necessary to do the fire style great fireball jutsu, or as in Japanese, katon goka kinajutsu.
During a debate?
Yes, you were there. You were beside me.
Yeah, but remember, I couldn't look up, so I probably wasn't looking at you.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Would not do again. Anyway, the next one is got roasted by your coach or alum. Now, I have been getting roasted by multiple people throughout the course of my career, and it was pretty harsh. Like, in high school, like, it's just, why can't you do this? Why can't you do this? Paulit-ulit yung comments sa'yo. Blah, 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 blah. That's so disappointing. And I was like, I'm trying my best. And, like, and there was this one instance, medyo harsh talaga yung coach ko nun. I was already in 4th year at that time. Tapos sabi sa akin, not only did you stagnate, you actually got worse. Sabi niya sa akin, like, if your 2nd year self could see you now, he'd be so disappointed. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's medyo uncalled for. Are you trying to make me cry? Apparently it's a learned thing na, like, if your coaches are kind of mean like that, like roasters, they end up roasting their children in sometimes not really constructive ways.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's also how parenting works.
How about you?
Yeah, I've been roasted, but always productively. I've had the benefit of, like, growing up with a good set of coaches. But in college, I guess I have been roasted, but not as much as others that, like, are in my batch or what.
Ako rin, surprisingly, not as much as some of my other friends. Like, yung isa kong kinausap a few weeks ago, sabi niya, na when she was younger, she used to get so roasted by, like, her coach na after, she was already an established debater nun eh. And then, she delivered a speech in front of her coach, and it was like tryouts. Tapos she got roasted, and then afterwards, like, sinabihan siya na, you thought you were so good, huh? And then, like, so a few years of that, more of the same. And then even when the coach wasn't there, like, sometimes she could feel while she was speaking that the voice of her coach was like digging into her ears, like telling her, this is not the way that you should be doing this, etc. And it's like, oh man.
I really don't get that. Like, terror coaches. Like, I've never been one. Have you ever been one to our kids? Kids, like, the people we coach, okay? We don't have children. Just for people who don't know us. Like, we call our debate kids.
Personally, I don't think so. But I do recognize that there might have been some instances where I went too far with my criticism, and I felt really bad I feel really bad about those, so I always end up apologizing. But it's not often, naman. I'm really chill. Like, I don't roast people. I say, I don't want to say things. Like, nothing is coming to my mind right now, but I don't think that I'm that mean, naman.
Okay.
I don't think I'm that mean.
I don't think so
I
either.
swear, I promise.
So I don't know. I think the only people who can really tell are the people you've coached. So, like, if Kyle has ever terrorized you, let us know.
Siguro during lectures. Like, magle-lecture ako, tapos they're like, Kyle, can we take a break? I'm like, no, we can't take a break. And I'm like, but this has been going on for so long, and our hands are tired, and it hurts. I'm like, no, we can't take a break.
I don't think that's roasting, though. That's just being cruel. Like, or, being strict.
I don't think it... Hey, I wasn't being cruel.
Being strict, then.
Yeah, kasi we had a time limit.
That's true.
Anyway, so next one. Promise to integrate rebuttals into the rest of the speech.
And I do that. I don't think it's a big deal. Maybe if you promised it and then didn't do it, that's bad. But I usually, like when I make my speeches, if I'm a deputy or a member, just to save time, I integrate everything. But again, you have to do this carefully because if you don't know how to properly flag things or point out to the judges which parts are responses and not, you're gonna end up just having a speech that looks purely constructive.
Siguro yung difficulty rito ay, there are lots of instances in which you promise to integrate rebuttals, but to the judge, it wasn't well integrated. Because from your perspective as the speaker, siguro it is well integrated, but it was only because a lot of the things that you were putting in your constructives were direct responses to the other teams or the other speakers, but you weren't able to clearly communicate that they were in fact direct responses to other contributions in the debate. So sometimes it is malicious, but most of the time it is only because people aren't communicating the points of integration well enough.
That's it. Yeah. Do you have any other side note? I think I do this more than you.
Oh yeah, I did this also.
Yeah.
No, I do this more. Oh. I do this more, but only because like structure is not my strongest suit, and a lot of times I feel like structure is sort of constraining. So I was one of the first people to start doing religiously the integration of rebuttals into the rest of the speech.
Fair enough. Okay, the next one. Joined PIDC. I can proudly say, and sort of embarrassingly say, that I've debated or I have joined since 2015. So I debated for 4 years, 2015, 16, 17, 18, and then for 2019 I was AdCore. For 2020, I'm not gonna be part of the tournament in any like big capacity. I'll probably just visit to say hi.
Okay, I also joined PIDC. That's it. Moving on. I mean, I didn't do anything significant.
Said you are retiring from debate.
Okay, yes. When I graduated high school, I said I wouldn't debate in college. But then I realized, I haven't won anything yet. So I decided to debate in college. And then after college, I realized I haven't won anything yet. So I decided, I'm gonna debate in law school. Just a little bit, you know? And then I realized right now, I still haven't won anything.
So are you gonna continue debating?
Siguro, I mean, when I have time. But at this point, I'd like to stress that I don't debate to win anymore. I just debate because... Okay, something about law school is that there's a tendency where it feels very constraining because you're not allowed most of the time to talk about your own opinion. So most of the time you're not able to think critically about the things that you're reading. Like if you read a case and then that's what the Supreme Court says, like you can't, in my opinion, ma'am, sir, ganyan, because I don't really care about your opinion. Because, sino ka? Ikaw ba yung korte? Like that. So, that's the reason why I still debate in law school, because it's like a break. It's a break. I can talk about other topics na bigla.
Yeah. For me, I've said this, but it's pretty hard not to retire when, like, right after graduation, I had a part-time job where I coached debate, and then I started a podcast, and I still had, like, AdCore duties. So I retired for a while, but can you really retire when you have a lot of debate commitments? No, not really. So it's a lie.
Retirement is a myth nga daw eh.
Yeah. Next.
Is it a myth?
No, I've seen people leave.
Yeah. Anyway, next. I'll answer that POI later. So what does this mean? Does this mean that you take a POI and then they ask you something and you go like, I'll answer that later?
Yeah. Like when you said it.
Okay.
Like maybe you didn't answer the POI up front. I've done this, but I usually remember to actually answer the POI. I haven't received any grievances of ignoring POIs, so I wouldn't know.
I probably did this. Ito yung style na if you don't know how to answer a POI, just say that you're gonna answer it later and then you don't answer it. That has happened to me. Like, sometimes I just forget. Sometimes I forget to flag that this is the part of the speech where I respond to the POI. Other times, I just really don't know. So I continue with my speech. And while I'm speaking, I'm trying to think of a way to answer the POI. But it's either I don't find a way to answer the POI, or even if I do find a way to answer the POI, I no longer know how to integrate it into a particular part of my speech. So I end up just not answering the POI altogether.
Fair enough. Next. Was supposed to participate in a tournament that was cancelled due to COVID-19. Actually, Kyle and I were supposed to team up for MINT, or Manila InterVarsity, once again. We were excited for it. I was excited for it. But then, it got cancelled. What can you do? But yes, I think people were also sort of excited for this tournament. I heard a lot of people registered. So, but we can't control what's happening.
Cancel culture is getting out of hand.
Yeah. Goddamn snowflakes.
Okay, rebuilt at Whip. Well...
Depends.
Okay, you go first.
Yeah, I think this depends on what rebuilding is. I usually have to repeat what Kyle says in a less complicated way. Is that rebuilding? If you respond to a rebuttal, is that rebuilding? If you have to clarify your partner's case because the previous speaker rebutted it, is that rebuilding? I don't know. So I guess I have rebuilt. I don't know if this is a bad thing. I don't know why this bingo is implying rebuilding at Whip is a bad thing. Unless it's new matter.
Yeah.
New matter's bad.
That's one of the things that you're supposed to do at Whip, right? Rebuild.
Yeah. So I don't know.
But I'll go on the record. I'll go on the record and address the spirit of this bingo square, which is building at Whip, which I have done, and I actually do often, quite often, in fact. Like legit building. I've never gone so far as to say that this is what I'll argue, but there have been a lot of times in which I just give quote-unquote new analysis or quote-unquote new rebuttals that could totally stand as new arguments all on their own. And I'm just like, you can probably infer this from something that my partner already discussed. Pero medyo far in inferences pa siya. Siguro mga 10 steps of inference muna before you get to the level where sobrang advanced ko kasi mag-isip. Chos. And then, I love being called out for building. And then I was like, no, I'm not building. But in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm totally building. So stop. Don't make me lie.
Next. Lost a round to your debate crush. So I've lost to every debater I've had a crush on. Actually, I think I'm pretty lucky that I even get to compete with the people I have a crush on. And usually it's when they defeat me that I end up liking them. It's not like I like losing, but I just get impressed. And I was like, hey, you're a smart person, and I like smart people. Yeah, so I've lost to my crushes.
Ako, I don't get super impressed when I get beaten. So, that doesn't apply to me. So, and, okay, I'm not being mayabang. It's more of, I don't get impressed because it doesn't take a lot to beat me in a round. It doesn't take a lot. I'm full of weaknesses. Okay? And also, I used to get crushes really, really easily. So, statistically speaking, it stands to reason that I would probably lose to my debate crushes. A lot. A lot. A lot. But it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. This is fine.
It's fine.
Fine. It's fine.
Yeah, this is fine. Okay, next. Get carried by a dino.
Yes, but I think I'm lucky not to see it as a real carry. When I've teamed up with dinosaurs, I've ranked. Also, I also got into top 10. I'm a few speaker points away. But I guess I still feel like I got carried because, admittedly, there's a lot of things I didn't know and wouldn't have known if I wasn't teamed up with them. And I also regret that I only teamed up with dinosaurs rather late into my debate career. When I started debating, I would only team up with people in my batch because I was very shy to ask the alumni to debate with me. But I got over that fear, and I'm happy that I got to team up with them.
Ako, yes, I have been carried by quite a few dinosaurs, particularly one of my coaches, si Jason. What happened was, while I was debating with him, I felt like, di naman ako kaya-carry. I just think I'm not being appreciated well enough. And then now that I'm older, I go like, yeah, siguro I think I wasn't being appreciated well enough because I actually was being carried by my partner. Yeah, so baliktad tayo because you weren't really being carried, but you thought you were being carried. You felt that. Ako, I didn't feel like I was being carried, but I actually was being carried quite a lot.
Next one. Podcasts on 1.5 or 2 times speed. Girl, like, give me that 3 times speed.
Bitch, I invented that.
Yeah. So I listen at 2 times speed or 3 times speed. I now watch all media in sped up form, and I 100% blame Kyle for it. Like, I used to enjoy things normally, like a normal person. But then Kyle introduced me to the fact that I could watch much more in a day if I sped it up. And suddenly, I can no longer watch things normally because it feels too slow.
Okay, the misconception because here is that if you speed it up, you won't be able to appreciate anything anymore. Like, it's just simply not true. Just simply not true. Simply untrue. You can still just let your mind adapt to it. Because it will. You just need to get used to it. Because, like, how do you expect a lot of people to have their brain process things at such a fast speed? Right? So it must be possible for people to do that. So, if other people could do it, why couldn't you? And the reason for that is because they have tried it, they have practiced in it, they got used to it, and you are purposefully holding yourself back because like, I can't appreciate it.
Also, since we edit the podcast, we have to listen to ourselves a lot, right? So, we listen very slowly to ourselves as we edit. And we have to repeat 10-second intervals over and over again just to make sure the sound is okay. And then once we're done with that, we have to give it a final listen to make sure it's worthy of publishing. And I don't want to listen to another hour, so I speed it up. I give it 3 times just to check one final check before it's uploaded.
Okay, next. Disobeyed tournament dress codes.
Yes, I have, but I'm too much of a wimp to push through with it. So I always have like a cover-up jacket, or I bring a pair of pants if I can't be in shorts. Because I'm a woman, and if I am breaking dress code, I am going to hell.
Yeah, I have broken tournament dress codes. I don't need to cover it up because I'm a boy. My very first tournament ever, I was in shorts and chinelas. The last time Nina and I debated together, we got to finals, I was in chinelas. I debated against law students and they were in barongs. And I was also a law student, but I was just in chinelas. So, I really don't care about dress codes so much. Except for that one time when the debate tournament was literally inside the Supreme Court. So, yun, nagbarong na ako. I was like, there's no way to get around this, man. There's no way. Okay, next. POI'd at the first minute to intimidate opponents.
I've done this. But I do it as an intimidation tactic, yes. But I make sure I always have a question. So usually I do have a question in mind, and then, like, so it's always a win-win. If they call me, then here's your question. If they don't call me, then I've psyched you out from the very start. So just be very careful and with this tactic if you do it. Because sometimes people will call your bluff. I've called someone's bluff. Someone who was a pretty prominent debater. I called their bluff, and then they started, like, tripping all over themselves, and then they sat back down.
Surely you're not talking about me, right? Because my story here is very similar to what you just said, where I bluffed, I raised a POI the first minute, but I didn't really have a POI. I was thinking of a POI, I didn't have one yet. Tapos tinawag ako. And the motion was about like Syria or something. And I didn't know anything about Syria. So I was just like, I stammered, so what is happening in Syria? And then I sat down. And it was hilarious. Because like, what a matter. And then I lost, obviously. But I still think it was a good story. A good enough story to
I don't think it was
podcast.
you though. Because I remember like the person I called out just really didn't have anything. And it was just mumbling for a few seconds. And I won't disclose who it is for their sake, but it was just really bad. So bad. Okay, next.
So bad.
Rehashed opening but one. I've done this. I don't like it, but I've done it. Never intentionally. I don't like plucking openings case word per word and then just delivering it in my own like fancy way and then winning from it. But it happens unintentionally. Sometimes I fail to listen and I don't notice they run the argument, then I run it again. Or I just tend to borrow a little bit too much from the opening half that they don't see my nuance enough. But they make me win anyway. And I think it was unfair, but I have rehashed and won, and I'm not proud of it.
Okay, if we're talking about hijacking, I have done that. You take a lot of things that they said and then point out that they had a lot of things missing, and then you fill that in, but it's essentially the same argument, and then you win. I have done that, and I felt pretty good about it. I still feel pretty good about it. I've beaten you, Nina, with that strategy, hijacking, but I have also won through plain and simple rehash. Like, I didn't even add anything. I just flowered up the wording, like what you said, and I don't know. I really don't know how I won, because it wasn't like... Siguro I won because the way that I reworded it was by making it much simpler. Like, the opening that I was rehashing used very difficult sounding words, and I just broke it down into like their components na this big word means these little words. Ganyan. So I removed it from the plane or that level of abstraction so it became more digestible. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with giving the win to someone who was the most digestible or the most easy to understand person in the debate.
Fair. Yeah. Okay, next. Delivered an 8-minute speech. I've done this. I'm not proud. I always have a timer with me. Actually, I record all my speeches. So my recorder is also my timer. But sometimes my phone just shuts off or the screen gets dim and I'm flustered and I can't input my passcode to open it again, and I just ramble and no one's timing, and then I reach 8 minutes.
That happened to me. It's a semi-finals of Idea Grands. And I forgot my timer. But I was really so hyped. I really thought that I was gonna win that round. Because my case was good, the rebuttals were really spot on in my opinion. So I was so excited to speak that I forgot my timer at the table, and I forgot to check before speaking if I had my timer. So I just started my speech, and then while I was speaking, towards the end, I saw one of my friends like standing at the back, like doing these gestures, and I thought, oh, that's cute. I must be doing really well because fans are waving at me or whatever. Something like that. But it turns out it was because it was already 7:50 and I wasn't even halfway done with my argument. So at some point I was just like,
oh no,
thank you. At some point I was just like, oh, thank you. And then I sat down and then we
that's
lost.
so sad. How do you speak for that long?
And notice?
That's possible.
I mean, time flies when you're passionate about something.
And that happens a lot in this podcast. But I meant, how do you speak for 8 minutes and not be halfway done? Did you not notice something might have been wrong?
No, I wasn't halfway done with my final argument.
Oh, okay.
You get it? Yeah. It was sad. But ironically, the person who was standing at the back going like, Kyle, you're overtime. Ironically, she was the type of person who also did the same level of overtime. She actually did like 11 minutes of overtime. So afterwards, kinu-criticize niya ako. Tapos sabi ko, ngek, wala ka namang ascendancy. Like, nakaka 15-minute speeches ka nga, hindi mo rin napapansin. Sabi niya, yeah, but that's in training. Not in the semifinals of a tournament that you prepared an entire year for. I was like, okay, fine, good point. Yeah, rub it in some more. Rub it in.
Last one is using the phrase at the end of the day. And I've done this. Like, I'm not proud of it, but this was high school Nina. She didn't know how to debate or do any public speaking. She had to have a crutch, you know?
Yeah, I think my stories here aren't interesting at all. It's just, yeah, I say at the end of the day, but it was never constant for me. Some speeches, I say it a lot. Other speeches, I don't say it at all.
Yeah.
There's really nothing to say here. It's just, at the end of the day, I do know someone, though, who says at the end of the day, so much. Like, so much. He starts and ends the same sentence with at the end of the day. Like, at the end of the day, this is going to be a bad policy at the end of the day. And then, we're like, no, fix that. And then, he tried fixing it. Tapos the result was like, at the end of the day, something bad will happen at the end of the day, at the end of it all. Like,
I know this person.
At the end of it all. It turned very nihilistic, no? At the end of it all. Oh
it
my
just became
god.
a permanent thing, you know? Okay, so a recap. A recap of our bingo. And we both hit bingo. Blackout
tayo.
I think...
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is
tayo.
very telling. On one hand, we've just been debating for a long time. But on the other hand, I don't know. I don't know. Like, is it common to get a blackout?
I guess so. Well, what's funny, for me, what I found amusing in this episode is I realized while I was talking that most of my stories end with me saying, yeah, I lost. I lost that round. Or like, I keep losing, no? I lose so much. All I do is lose and make funny stories out of it. Which is great. I'd rather lose and get laughs from it than win in a really boring manner.
Yeah, or you win and there's controversy. Like, that's the worst.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I think that's it for this episode. It's really long.
It's gonna be
It's really long.
really difficult to edit as well. So if you're listening to this and you've gone this far, please note, it was a lot of work to make sure that the audio clips were aligned because we are doing this recording via Messenger and there's like lag that you have to account for and the difference in sound quality, etc. You know, we'll make do. This quarantine is gonna be difficult to deal with, but it's not gonna stop us. Okay? Thanks for listening.
That's it for this episode. For the next episode, we're gonna go back to usual programming. Still in the quarantine with this format. Still in the difficult to edit format. But we're gonna go to more debatey topics. We're gonna talk about COVID in the next episode, right? Yeah. And then some more fun stuff that we decided to do.
Okay. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay,
Thanks
bye.
for listening. See you next time. Bye-bye. Ding ding.